Hi, everyone, and welcome to Truth Camp. I'm your host, Crystal Giznichek, with my co-host and wife, Sarah. We believe that there is something you can learn from everyone and want to help share these truths to help inspire and motivate. Thank you for spending time with us today. Now let's get started. Hi, and welcome to Truth Camp. Thank you for joining us today. We're here with a special guest that we kind of got last minute, so thank you for joining us. This is Teresa Blackburn. She's a friend and a holistic psychotherapist. I think I met Teresa at like Rocky Road, I want to think is the first time at the gym that we go to. And Teresa's an amazing athlete. She's strong. She does very good martial arts. And what kind of martial arts are you into? Because I'm not exactly sure of that realm.
Well, I used to do jujitsu.
Jujitsu,
yeah.
Okay. And we are going to talk about a little bit of all the things, mental health,
gay shit,
a little bit of sexuality. But first, Teresa, tell us a little bit about your holistic job and what you kind of do with your patients.
Well, I have my LPC, which is licensed professional counselor, and graduated from Carlo in Pittsburgh. And I didn't want to do traditional talk therapy. So I got into energy work and spiritual kind of, meditation, Reiki, EFT, which is emotional freedom therapy, a lot of alternative therapies. And I incorporated them all in with my practice. So I went out on my own. I didn't want to work with insurance companies. I just was like, okay, I'm going to just do this on my own and see where it goes. So I worked in Pittsburgh for about 6 years before going online. I actually went online in 2019 before COVID hit. So I've been online for a little while.
That's a good move there, having that online then.
Yeah, it was like, it kind of just came to me like, go online only. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to, but it must have been divine timing. So, but yeah, I do some talk therapy, but also incorporate a lot of energy therapies that help people with like PTSD, trauma, anything from relationship issues to, addiction patterns. I mean, anything that's, in a cycle or a pattern for people. And I just kind of like call myself the pattern breaker in a way, because I'll help you break whatever cycle or pattern that you're in if you're willing to do that.
That's awesome.
That's like the overview of it.
So you mentioned EFT, emotional freedom therapy. What exactly? Because I'm sure a lot of people won't know what that is. What is that?
EFT is AKA tapping. So it's a psychotherapeutic technique that's been researched and accepted by the American Psychological Association. So it's not considered energy therapy or alternative. So you tap different parts of the body, which are meridian endpoints of organs. If you look at Chinese medicine or acupuncture, you see where they place those needles, and those are endpoints of meridians. And it could be stomach or spleen or liver. And you tap or stimulate that with the fingers while you're saying a dialogue in order to retrain the brain to think in a different pattern.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What else do you, I heard that you did Reiki as well. Mm-hmm. Sarah actually just got her level 1 cert.
Yeah, but you're a master. So.
Yeah. I can attune people and teach it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, what drew you to getting into that? Was it something that you always felt drawn to, or
Reiki?
Yeah.
No, it was a wild time. So about 2012, I was just in my master's program. I'm like, oh, I'm going to become a therapist and I'm going to work with people, and this is what I'm going to do. And I was just doing what everybody else does in life. And so I was on an antidepressant for 14 years, and it's all of a sudden stopped working for my body. And I was in this awful sick withdrawal. So I was seeking out some different therapies, and I would run into Reiki somehow. I was Googling stuff about how to get this out of my system. And I just popped into the West End of Pittsburgh, walked into this healing circle, and this woman was drumming and rattling and chanting and moving energy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So I felt like stuff clearing and leaving my body, and I decided, well, I'm going to take that level 1 class, because she was like, well, I'm moving to Alaska, so if you want to take a class before I leave, jump on in. So I'm like, all right, I did. And then in that class, I had like a major awakening moment where I realized that, like, I don't know, there was more to it than just your mind and just the physical reality, that there was like energies and stuff too. So
a lot of your like life experiences kind of guided you into different things that you've found through the years that are effective.
oh yeah, I would say that it's 100% what happened. I mean, it's just like a unlayering process. You know, when there was something happening in my life that I had to clear and move past, then people would show up that had that issue. And it just almost seems like anything that I've been through, that I encounter other people that are going through that as well. So it was 2012 was like the pivotal year. Like, it was getting off the antidepressant, finding Reiki. 3 months later, your mom's dying of cancer and your whole life changes. I was going to move back to Pittsburgh, and instead I chose to stay in Steubenville. And, you know, my whole life trajectory just went. It was wild.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is like a ton of things to go on. Like, how did you feel like unsure of your path ever? Or were you just like, no, I'm going with this, like wherever this wants to take me?
I mean, that's just kind of how I learned to be with it. I mean, I just kind of rolled with it. Like, I meditated and prayed out by my swimming pool for like a few days after, you know, I got my master's and my mom had already passed. I was like, well, I don't know, you know, should I go work for an agency or do I do this on my own? And I sat there for 4 days and I prayed, and, you know, I got the message to do it on your own. So I feel like I've always followed guidance and rolled with the guidance. Whatever.
And listened to your intuition as well. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you think your mom's passing, like, have you figured out what the purpose of that was in your life, or what you've learned from that?
Oh, I mean, it's endless. So, you know, my mom and I had a really close relationship, so almost enmeshed, too close. And, you know, when I was a little kid, I had panic attacks and anxiety disorder after having bouts of strep throat, which now realized that I was actually a neurological problem from strep, which no one knew back then. So I had to live with that for a while. And so we had like this very strong relationship, which was amazing, but yet it was codependent. And so when I had found out that she was, you know, passing, I mean, if I didn't have that spiritual cushion of Reiki and like all the people that I met in the community, I don't know what would have happened. So it was like, that had to come in divinely because her death was about to occur. Because once she got sick, she passed in 5 months. So it was like Reiki, sick, she's gone. So, you know, basically I had to learn how to be, in grieving while being, you know, independent instead of codependent. And I had to, you know, just learn so many lessons of how to like allow anxiety to just come and go, to allow the moment to just be uncomfortable and sit in it. And that was one of the biggest things that I think, you know, Reiki is good for, is because I would meditate and I would pray and I would do the Reiki and it would calm and relax. I've had people say, hey, taking that Reiki class from you or doing that session felt like I took a Xanax, you know? So I'm like, yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be that soothing. Yeah.
You've really been enjoying learning the Reiki stuff, and you and your cousin have been doing it together.
Yeah, which is a shit show. But I did it because I was like, I don't want to really, but I touch people all the time. I don't want to like go out
with your work
with it.
But
like,
preface.
I touch people all the time. I'm a little
people.
molesty. No, but I felt like Reiki helped me protect myself too, and learn what was mine, what was someone else's, how to deflect that, or what to do with something that clings.
Absolutely. I think it's a good energy clearing technique, and you can shield up and protect yourself with that energy, and you can cleanse and clear your space. You know, if you walk into a place and you energetically can like cleanse out anything or protect your own body or seal someone else up in a little bubble of Reiki.
Like, your shit over there.
Yeah. Just kind of keep this energetic, you know, barrier, you know.
So how would you describe your like spirituality?
That's an interesting question. So right now, in this moment today, I would consider myself someone who resonates with Christian mysticism. And that's a very interesting term.
Yeah, I never have heard of that
No,
before.
okay.
Christian.
So Christian mystics, St. Francis, St. John of the Cross, Teresa of Avila, Richard Rohr, they're all Christian mystics. And so why? Well, it's because they're contemplatives. And so when you say, contemplation, then you're contemplating life. Dark night of the soul. You've heard of that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's St. John of the Cross. Teresa of Avila had dark nights of the soul where they felt desolate, like God had abandoned them, like it was the end for them. But and through that realization of the presence and existence of God, you realize that God is within everything. So it's like more holistic. God's in the grass and the trees. Richard Rohr did a really good episode on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah, and that like really explained it. So Christian mystics more connect with everything. Instead, like St. Francis was about the trees and the animals, and everything was connected. Everything was an expression of God. When other traditional Christians are like, kill all the animals and, fucking like God's only in church, or, he's only on the cross, or whatever the case is. So it's the mystics are kind of like more in the mystery, the meditative, the contemplative, sit in silence. So one thing they use is centering prayer. So I'll sit in silence for 20 minutes and it releases emotional programs and cleanses and clears. And I actually go to a La Roche College, and they're the nuns up there, the Sisters of Divine Providence, have centering prayer. So yeah.
Oh, that's
So is it kind of like a meditation where you sit and just
quiet?
Yeah.
Just sit in silence. Yeah. But that whole place spiritually, I guess I feel like I resonate there. Mm-hmm. I would call myself a Christian person, but I don't feel like I'm traditional, where I'm like, oh, I can only just, hone in on this. I can't look at the people that do witchcraft or Reiki or whatever the case. I like to just just kind of encompass everything, but not adhere so strictly to the Bible. And I feel like people idolize the Bible, and they take it so fundamentally, literally, and they don't consider any time that it was written or translations or anything like that. But not to go down the whole religion argument path.
Oh no, go down if you want to go.
It sounds a lot less judgmental overall. You kind of are open.
Yeah, it's inclusive. Yeah. It's LGBTQ inclusive. I mean, it's everybody inclusive.
Yeah.
Because that's like what Christ said the greatest commandment was: love yourself and your neighbor, and you love God and love your neighbor, and love yourself and spread love. And all Jesus ever talked about in the Bible was truth and love. And he said the word truth more than love. That's why I like Truth Camp, because the truth is what he was trying to get us to do. And when he told the truth, he got a shit show because of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
it's not love all humans except these ones.
Right. Yeah, come on, And he never said, build a religion off me and keep all kinds of people out, put a pass of a whole bunch of shit judgments and stuff. And so I've never resonated with the after 313 Constantine religion, where that segmented Catholicism and Protestants are fucking fighting. I mean, that's takes away from the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you can see, I cuss, so I don't follow the traditional Christian,
That was my first question when we were going to start recording. I literally was like,
we were driving
and I'm like, oh my God, can I cuss? Yeah. Because there's no censoring. I don't want to censor. It's exhausting. Mm-hmm. I am so beyond that at this point. So
yeah,
I dig that. Yeah. So speaking of the Truth Camp thing,
yeah,
tell us about Truthroots and the break room, because I am so fucking pumped for this.
Yeah, I've been seeing your posts about the break room. That just sounds so awesome to have around here, especially.
Yeah. So yeah, Truthroots is the LLC that I came up with. I sat and meditated on that too. And I'm like, what should I make it? It's got to be something about truth, because, I'm about getting to your raw roots and the truth of what the problem is, and finding your truth and finding the truth for each individual, and, how that goes for everybody. And so, that's something that I, felt I could incorporate into my name, my logo, my Truthroots. But the break room was more about how to release anger in a healthy way, because a lot of people repress anger. It's either one or the other. You see it overly expressed or you see it underly expressed, right? And I think those are the two things that happen. And, you know, people that eat anger and they stuff it, it's in their stomach, it's in the cells of their body. You know, you can feel when somebody's repressing anger and they don't even give it a second thought. Well, because it's a 7 deadly sin and like all of the bad name that anger gets. But then you see people that are road raging and screaming and bitching and snapping all the time. And you're like, you got an issue with anger too. There's an imbalance there, right? So the break room is about like a place to go and express your anger, smash things that you're not supposed to break, and then talk about it. So my sessions are going to be more like, you're just going to come into my place and break a bunch of shit and leave. I'm not doing that. You can go do that at home with a tarp in the back fucking yard. But if you want to come in and have an experience, then I'm either going to have you journal afterwards, do a meditation, meet with somebody to talk about it, like a therapist afterwards, or do some Reiki and process what's happening, and then determine like, where do you go from here? You know, you got all this out, but where do you go from here?
I like that a lot because that's like the one thing when I saw other like rage rooms and stuff like that, it did kind of make me wonder like, well, what happens when you're in this excited state and, you know, all this is coming out, then what do you do with it after? You know, you have this fit an episode that starts in something fun, but like, I mean, if that lives within you, you're going to start breaking shit and be like, you could lose control. And then what do you do with those emotions after?
Exactly. So that's why the process after is so important and why I'm going to offer that. And on the weekends, we thought about like incorporating in parties, like, you know, groups that somebody's work party, you know, or a divorce party or, you know, something fun, you know, to make it like more entertaining. So a lot of rage rooms are listed under adult entertainment and some of them are more therapeutic. So I wanted mine to be like during the week, more therapeutic. And then maybe on the weekends having that like fun time.
Bring the kids down.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
where is the location
It's at 3244 Main Street in Weirton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you say when about it's going to open up or?
We're projecting January 1.
Okay.
But, you know, the guy who's doing the remodels and everything, he's like, well, could give or take a few weeks, but that's our date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I just wanted to let people know that way they can look out for it whenever.
2022.
Yeah. It'll be there. And then we have a room in the back for Reiki sessions. We have a lot of people are going to come bring their stuff. Like I have somebody who does art. And they're going to be like, can I display my art in your windows and on your walls? And I've had people like, yeah, I would like to sell my chimes down there or my crystals. And I do sell like a lot of holistic health products. So, you know, I'm going to have some of that available. It's just going to be a little medley of everything store, plus Reiki and Rage Room, Smash Room.
I love that. I'm so pumped for that. That's going to be so amazing.
I know, that will be great. It will definitely be there.
Yes, that sounds so exciting. So now who is working with you? Is it just you or like do you have some like associates with you or not yet?
It's me. It's just me with Truthroots. I do have another Reiki practitioner. So she'll be offering sessions and she does like some nutrition stuff too. The next door to me is Evolution Fitness and she's a one-on-one personal trainer and she just does you know, a certain elderly crowd. She has some other people in there too, but no one knows she's over there. And her husband actually own the building. So
sweet.
We're going to, you know, kind of work together with some of her people, you know, to come over. And then I have like a couple other Reiki practitioners that are interested in joining. And the hope is that I can get like, you know, at least some time open where someone will be able to sell the products and sit there.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll see how it goes. But for now, it'll just be me and a couple other people with Reiki.
Awesome.
That's super exciting. I feel like there's such an interest in that around here, but it's like, it almost seems like people want to whisper about it. Like it's like taboo.
About Reiki?
Or any of like the holistic, the metaphysical. Like and I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like there's such a shift to that. And maybe it's just like the crowd that I'm around, but there just seems to be such a shift to interest.
Yeah.
To things like that where people are like, they want to feel more, they want to explore more, they want to like,
and they're open to it more.
Yeah.
I think before it was even like less talked about, but like social media I think kind of brought that more to light too.
Yeah, I think people are like collectively shifting, you know. I would say, you know, age of Aquarius, you know, we're all shifting into this new energy and people are wanting to not be in the boxes.
Yeah.
And they're shifting out of the patriarchy and the old models. COVID, I feel, showed us where we are in an old models and what needs to change. As a therapist, I've seen people's lives falling apart, relationships falling apart. I've seen relationships repaired because of COVID. I've seen COVID do good things to families, but yet tear other families apart. And it's shifting. It's a collective shift. It's like, are you going to fucking get on the new wave, or are you going to try to hold so tightly to the old model to where you're fighting the current? You know, are you going to roll with it, or are you going to freak out and resist it? And man, do we resist.
Where do you think that comes from? Like, I mean, besides just like being comfortable and like what you know, like where do you think that resistance comes from?
I mean, you know, where does it come from for you? What do you resist feeling? What emotion don't you want to feel?
Fear. I think it's a lot of fear, like of the unknown,
uncertainty.
and uncertainty.
You're not comfortable anymore.
Shame, scared, like afraid.
Fear. Yeah. What other emotions do we not like? Guilt.
Guilt. Yeah.
You know?
Guilt, shame, fear, sadness.
What beliefs don't we want to feel or think?
What beliefs?
Yeah.
Like we are less than, we're small, we're insignificant.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
Worthless. Not valuable. And I think that when it pushes people's buttons, they adhere to whatever it is because they don't want to feel that shit. Anything to avoid feeling that way.
Yeah, I remember like even when I first started like following you on Facebook, that was like I think around the time I was getting divorced and I was coming out. And your stuff just like motivated me so much because I didn't really know too many people that were like openly out, and you were so vocal about things and your emotions, and it gave me a lot of like strength to be able to like do that, because at first like me and her had completely different experiences with like coming out, like back when I was growing up and you were the same, like you didn't know gay, like people would not say they were gay or they would like hide it, and it was such a big deal. I still remember the conversation I first had with my best friend. She was like one of the first people I ever told, and I was on the phone and my voice was just like shaking, like I was so scared to tell her, and she was like one of the most accepting people. I knew she wasn't gonna say anything bad, but just having that acceptance and approval from her like felt like the world in that moment. And I think that's like a main thing what everyone wants, like within themselves, is they want that acceptance and love unconditionally.
Yeah, when you can love and accept yourself, that's the prize.
Yeah, that's true.
So what was your coming out story like?
Oh gosh, well, I came out when I was 15, 1995, so that was a long time ago.
Did you know, like looking back in hindsight, was there always
looking back in hindsight? Yep, I recall that when I was 3, I was throwing, and this is probably gender identity too, because I feel like there's a bit of that mixed in for me, where I felt like I didn't know I was a girl till I was after 10, you know, and I was really upset that I was going to have a period and that I had to wear a bra. I was devastated. So I think gender identity was weird for me at first, but I knew I was gay. Oh gosh, I mean, like young, but I didn't process what that meant until probably my teens. And then I had my first girlfriend at 15, and that's when I came out. And
that was like when it was not acceptable at all. Like, did you get any kind of backlash, like from your family or friends?
No, I didn't actually. So knock on wood. I mean, I went to Catholic school, Catholic Central. I had friends that were cool and knew. My mom was fine. My grandparents were fine. My dad was fine. I didn't have a problem. So I don't have this like story to tell, you know? And
that's good. You had loving people though in your life that accepted you.
I did. And my mom was always like, you know, be with who you want, you know, you be proud of who you are and be who you are. And, you know, it was accepted. So, I never really had, backlash from other people because I would look tough. And my parents were bikers, and no one fucked with me. So, you know, what are you going to say to me? You know? And so, no, I really didn't have this grand coming out story, you know?
I think I'm sure to the individual person, like when you do come out, like it's a big deal. But I think a lot of the times it's created in our minds to be such a bigger deal. And you tell people and they're like, duh. We knew, or that's fine. We love you for who you are. And I'm sure I know that there are people that have not had good experiences. But I mean, I think for a lot of people, they're pleasantly surprised by the reception that they get from friends and or family. Mm-hmm. That's so cool though, that everybody was just like, yep, totally cool.
Yeah. I mean, I've struggled internally with like I said, gender identity and stuff for a while, but I mean, for the most part, externally I was always accepted.
How do you feel about like gender? Because I'm sure you probably get that a lot, even in your practice and stuff, people that struggle with that. And now, like things are changing a lot and people like have a lot of different labels and
it's new, it's different. You know, I have a lot of people that come to me to get their surgeries and they need my signature, you know. So I have to evaluate that and thoroughly evaluate that to see if they're mentally and emotionally in a place of stability to do that. So that's hard. But typically the people that are coming to do it have already worked that out for themselves. But I think it's changed. It's still in that shift where that's still something that's the new gay, you know, it's being worked on, being accepted. But I think gender identity and sexuality are so different, that the two of them together, it's just hard to like put them in the same bucket.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for people in general to understand it. I know, like I struggled with it years back, like the whole, like, being transgender, and I, you know, especially when you see kids at a young age when they are just like, no, I know, like I'm in the wrong body.
Yeah, there was something we watched. Was it like a documentary or something?
And that was like the biggest changing point for me because there are these kids that are so intelligent and so in touch, and they're just like, no, like I feel like I don't feel comfortable this way. And then I like was like, oh shit, you know. But also we have, you know, gender is a made up thing. I mean, I think that it is a made up thing. It's like whatever you fit in. Like I understand, like biologically you have these bits and pieces, whatever. But I feel like
but masculine and feminine, that's so like people can create whatever narrative they want around, like blue is masculine, pink like why?
Because somebody says it is, and then everybody goes along with it. But I mean, I get it, like, because I mean, like, even like you like being androgynous and like doing different things. I have no desire to do that. And
it doesn't bother me. Like people, like when we're downstate Canaan, how many times our ongoing joke is how many times I can get called sir. And it doesn't bother me. I don't care. Like people want to see short hair and they think masculine, whatever. Like
well, we're programmed, and that's just it. We're programmed. The brain is programmed to do stuff. The dogs, if you have a dog and you train him to go out the front door and you try to get him out the back, he has no idea what you're trying to do. So, you know, when we were programmed visually and with our senses. And so when we're taught that boys look like this and girls look like that, then we see that and it fires the connection in the brain. It's nothing but a pathway neurally. So, you know, when people make mistakes, they're like, oh, that's because I'm programmed, you know, masculine's this, feminine's this. But, you know, really the blend is now if we all walked around all blended up together, you know, I think that would be like a mishmash. Like it would be like, well, what's going on? But I feel like it's for individual, you know, it's up to the individual at this point. But
I'm excited to see where it goes, especially with like younger kids, because they, you know, being in your like teens, you don't really give a shit what anybody else says anyways. And there's that rebellion, but so many of them are just like, I don't know how I identify.
Yeah. And like, so many of your clients and their kids say like, I don't know if I like guys or girls. Like, it's just like a lot more acceptable and open. And I like the way it's shifted.
Yeah. I think it's really cool because it gives these younger generations a chance to like really think about it in like a safer space where it's like it's okay, like you know, you don't have to have it figured out, and that includes, you know, gender ID and you know,
instead of just telling your kid, hey, you're going to grow up and marry a man and have 3 kids and that's how life is. Like people can actually decide on their own what makes them happy because it's just different individually.
Like what do you do like like family counseling when you ever like have someone who is wanting to transition? Do you have to like speak with family?
No, I don't have to. No, it's just the individual. Yeah. I've not spoken to any families about that. And I've not had anyone underage that has requested that yet. It's coming. I have underages that go by a different name or go by they, and I had helped their parents get through it.
do you find that more parents are being open to it and trying to understand it?
Yes.
What's their biggest holdup? Do you think they're scared for what could happen to their children?
I think with valid reason. I think that, again, we got extremes, right? In the past, it's like blue, fucking pink, boy, girl, football, not football. I was so mad I couldn't play fucking football.
know, me too.
Say, right? I was like, I'm good.
I can throw
so
a ball.
it was this, that. Now it's like anything. So I think the parents are afraid it's not enough structure, that there's not enough. So what I believe is a little truth to that, because I do think that you need some kind of guideline, because here's how we learn as beings. Like our download phase, where we're constructing our realities, happen from 0 to like 25. And then we start to question things and wonder, am I really in this system? Do I really want to be in that system? Do I really want to do this thing here? And then we usually have like a crumbling moment where their deconstruction happens, or a tower crumbling moment. And then we reconstruct. And I feel like we do that a few times in our lives. So I don't see the harm in having a construction phase and having one build up for them to go ahead and play with as a human soul and be able to tear it down and remove it. So I would never take away the structure that was put in place for me. Yes, there's aspects of it that was damaging, but other aspects taught me how to deconstruct and reconstruct. These kids are just fucking running around, not know, like, I don't know what I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know this and that. Well, where is your opportunity to construct? And then how do you get to the point where you think, how do I know my truth? How do I know my true self if I've never had to not be my true self to figure out who I am?
Yeah.
If you don't been fucking sad, you don't know what happiness is.
Yeah.
So I don't see the harm in that. So sometimes they don't like me. You know, they're like, oh, you're too traditional of a therapist. I'm like, not really. I'm just saying that it's the human condition. The Human Condition, which is a good book by Thomas Keating, by the way. It outlines the fact that this is who we are. We learn, we download, we program our computer, and not just have a blank computer sitting there hoping that it can be 10 different fucking things. It's a computer. It's headphones. It's a water bottle, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could only imagine what some of those kids, they're probably just like, I don't want to hear that. But you do. I think I remember like my quarter life crisis at 25. And I think that's what it was too. It's just like, this no longer like suits you. It's just not for you anymore.
Right. And your character develops through that, because if you didn't have to fight for yourself or advocate or, you know, anything, and everything was just all okay, I don't know.
I feel like that would be really boring.
Yeah.
Like really, really,
Just
really
like
boring.
Stepford Wives were boring in the fucking 40s. So either way, it would be boring. And so, yes, people aren't going to like what I have to say. I don't give a shit. But I do know that there's a truth to it, because we're humans, and that we're not linear. We don't just go from A to Z in this life. We come in and pass things again and again and again and again. And they look different each time we go past. So, you know.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of like looking at it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah. So, well, you know, some people don't like it. You know,
So you deal with a lot of heavy stuff, I'm sure, too, from people. How do you not take that all on yourself and like protect your own energy? And like, what are things that help you?
Well, Reiki and energy work and clearing my energy and my sacral chakra and my heart chakra and all that. But also, I don't see more than 3 people a day.
Oh, okay.
So I do not work that hard.
Do you do
I
the
don't
Reiki
follow
on
that
yourself, or do you go somewhere? Okay.
I do Reiki on myself. I have a Reiki practitioner, my Reiki master teacher. And then like we'll have an exchange, which I also want to have like over at the shop where we're going to be in Weirton, Reiki exchanges. So all Reiki practitioners come in, we set up a couple tables and we exchange, and that's very cleansing and clearing. I do tapping. I do brain retraining. You know, I take showers and just cleanse, but I take breaks. Like I don't overwork. I'm not going to be good for if I see 6 people a day, and some therapists just bang out.
Yeah.
Client after client after client. They hear your shit. The next one comes in, they take a note. I'm not a therapist like that. Like if they come to me and they're like, oh, we want you to just, no, I'm not doing back to back to back. I'll see 2 people, maybe sometimes 4 max. Like I'll see like a 10 and 11 and then a 7 and 8. But even that, sometimes I'm like.
Did you learn that like sweet spot just through trial and error?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Just like, how do I feel, after this? And like, how much can I give to a person? And I don't care how much money I make. God provides money. I don't know where it comes from. It just pops in when I need it. But I just feel like if I go with my true feelings and my true self and my truth, and I say, honestly, I can't handle this, God help me out. And it just happens.
Have you ever had a client that you're just like, really triggers you, really sets you off, and you're just like, I don't know about this?
Yeah, like I feel like it's a relationship, and a therapeutic relationship doesn't work if I'm not feeling it either. So I feel like that has to be, a togetherness. If there are clients, I will say, which I don't feel like we're a good match.
Yeah.
And then there are other ones who I know have the potential to be a little bit toxic and stuck in their pattern. And I'll just be like, when you're ready to work on this, then come back to me. I think you need to maybe take some other steps too. So yeah, I mean, there's people that I won't work with for sure.
I think that's awesome, because I feel like when you're in the like just cranking it out and you talk to some other therapists or social workers, they're just so
bad,
fried, and they don't know what to do with all of the shit that they take on. And then, the next thing you know, they're that therapist. It's like, yeah. And then,
fuck yeah. I'm not doing that. I've done it. I mean, there was a time when I was like, I need to work harder. I need to, do more. I taught kickboxing in 2 places. I saw a bunch of clients in Pittsburgh. I'd drive back and I'd see people down here. And then it was a point where I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not being present and aware for them. So that was the money fear. Oh, you're going to lose money, or, you're not going to survive. You have to make it. But that was my poor mentality growing up with a beer truck driver dad and a bartender mom, like I had to just hustle, you know what I mean? And so I had to like unlayer my fears and my programs about money. And so that's another thing that I help people do, is like unload that, because it can be so debilitating when there's a tangible thing. I have to work this many hours. I have to pay this bill. But you have to be able to like work with that too. So,
which, yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%, but like, that's so fucking hard right now.
Yes.
Like that is, and that's part of like where you're talking about, like we're in this transitional phase. Yeah. I feel like the old institution of like, work, 80 hours a week, 60 hours a week, overtime, triple time, double time. Like you need to have it all.
And that's so awesome. Like, but then you're missing out on so many things in your life is work. It isn't a life. Like,
yeah. I won't do it ever. And I know so many people that do, and then they get sick, or they have cancer, or they're not getting the message from the COVID thing. It's like, that's what COVID's calling you to do. Why are you not doing it?
I loved COVID so
Me
much.
too.
And I mean, unpopular opinion. Sorry, guys, but I fucking thrived.
Me too.
Oh my God. How great was it to just go, I can't go anywhere. Yes.
I'm like,
wait, we had the perfect excuse for everything too. Like, oh, I was exposed.
Yeah, we can't come in.
Not feeling good. Like, oh my God. And it's like, I'm actually kind of bummed out about the mask thing, which I know I could still wear.
You were really hoping for a second round.
Oh, I'm still hoping for a second round.
I like them too.
I loved it.
Didn't have to
like,
do
look,
anything.
you throw up a fucking hoodie, you put on sunglasses, you put on that mask. Nobody knows. And it's like, just sometimes you want to move like in silence. Like we need to be a little
You're like, I still want to wear my mask at the grocery store so no one sees me.
Yeah, I still do. And it's like nothing personal. It's just I just want to just be in like vanish mode. Like just
I actually took a hard right at the store today, and a mask would have been nice. I was like, oh shit, I got to get out of here.
And like, what do you do now? Because everybody's so like, we haven't talked to anybody. Oh my God. So you're like, fuck, if I talk to this person, I'm going to be here for a bajillion minutes. Yeah. And you don't want to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to get out of here.
And you're not doing it to like be rude. It's just like, I don't really have the time right this second. I wish.
No, COVID was like really, really, really wonderful. Like I know, well too, like if it wasn't for COVID hit for me at the most quintessential time, like I can't imagine where I would have ended up without like the stoppage of COVID, because I was like horribly depressed, terribly anxious. Like it was probably the worst ever.
That was really bad time for you.
And it was like COVID was like my little miracle. And it was like, oh, you can't handle this shit? Sweet, it's all done.
Yeah.
And it was fucking awesome. And it took me like 2 weeks to really like get right.
Yeah.
Like I 2 weeks was a blur, and I like could not get right. And then after that, I was like, this is fucking sweet. This is so awesome. Like, I remember, like, I think it gave everybody a chance to find things, like reignite their passions and things and figure out like.
And you got a lot of clarity, I think, just like during that time,
and
to be able to have that pause to
like, do you really like going out? Do you really like shopping? Do you really like these people? Like, is this serving you? And a lot of people, that's where that big shift happened. And you see a lot of people, I know for me, like I see a lot of people still trying to come away from that, where like they don't handle this change well. They miss the way things used to be.
I told a few people that I thought they needed to reevaluate their lives during COVID, because they would just bitch and complain about having to be home with their family. And I'm like, I don't know if you hate your house. I don't know if you don't like your family, but you got to figure something out, because you should be happy to be home. Like, whenever I got quarantined twice. I was ecstatic. I'm like, great, my favorite place.
Yeah, like when you're a kid and you get punished, like, go to your room. Like, I wish somebody would tell me that now. But I just think that it was, it's kind of sad to see when people are like stuck in that. And then how many people like made the comments to us like, oh, how are you guys doing? Like, you could put us in a like 100 square foot room. We will be fucking fine. We thrive on that. So yeah, COVID, as unfortunate as it was, I would totally do quarantine again. Lock my ass down. Just let it be the summer months next time.
Yeah.
That was all. I was so pissed. It was like fucking May. And I'm like, we're going to go back in May. Like, why? Like peak gardening season, and I was fucking hot about
you were
it.
looking forward to that so much.
I was tight. I really was. I was upset about it. And then, you know, it was back to the rat race. But it didn't seem right when we went back either. Like, I don't know if it felt like that for you. Like, things just felt like different.
Yeah.
Like, I just did not feel the same way about a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point. And people were they're trying to get that message, you know, to be still, to take more time, to rebalance and recalibrate. But some people didn't get the message. They wanted to rush right back to it, and then they're on their asses.
Yeah.
Sick or something.
I'm interested to see where it goes over like this winter, because I still feel like, not that like COVID like shit is going to happen again, but I just feel like there's still a lot more turbulence to come. Like, within like a personal dynamic. I don't know. Like, it just, sometimes it feels like wonky to be around people, especially, I don't do well in crowds anyways, but I just feel this like collective like unease and tension, and like, it's just weird. But I mean, I think it's all going to be for the better, at least for most people. And I don't know, I'm pretty excited about it anyways.
What were some of the like things that you saw from people that you were seeing during that time, like that were struggling? Was it like similar between them all, like just like
It was the kids struggling with school, with the online, many different struggles around that, socially, academically. So that was huge. And then, just people being holed up together after so long, just driving each other crazy. You know, people just not knowing how to adjust to that relax mode instead of the go mode of the Western culture. So I feel like those are the biggest themes, you know.
What do you give advice like to the kids? Because I heard that a lot through like some of the parents and stuff that I train. Like, they were worried about their kids because are they still going to get that socialization aspect? Are they going to have a completely different experience? Like,
no one knows at this point. I mean, it's very new. Like, this has not happened before. So, you know, we talk about balance with electronics. Sleep schedules. Kids' sleep schedules were completely flip-flopped. They're up till 6 a.m., sleeping all day. You know, parents were trying to regulate that. I mean, there's just so much. So there's nothing really solid and concrete, just working with each individual case. So
that's good. Still some good advice though for like in general, because I do think like a lot of kids definitely struggled.
Yeah, and like you said, we still don't know what the effects are going to be. So I'm sure in like 5 years, we'll start seeing like what that did, especially in that like critical like developmental age. Yeah. With, you know, kids, and like I would imagine middle school kids, it was probably like super hard for them because you're figuring out your like social hierarchy, and then like you pull everybody away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's interesting what's happened, but I mean, they're bouncing back. You know.
Yeah,
at this point.
the kids are so resilient. They always are. Like, it's just like, whatever. It's
they're
another day.
resilient. They're bouncing back. Yeah. It's good.
Now, what age demographic would you say do you see the most of?
Oh, there's no telling.
There's no average.
3-year-olds, 5-year-olds. I've had people had me work on them with emotion code or Reiki and stuff, and then people in their 60s and 70s. I mean, I don't. It's like spiritually guided for me. So I don't know. Whoever, whenever. There's no typical, or I don't have a certain specialty or group of people.
I kind of wondered if like the older generations were a little more resistant.
No.
Really?
No, not at all. I think it's collective wake up.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I meant you hear that stigma there was for therapy in general. And,
but I'm not the normal therapist,
Yeah.
so I don't attract
That-
kind of those kind of clients. I just don't. And then sometimes when I do, and they try to shove me in that therapist box, I'm like, this isn't going to work for us. So
Yeah, that's great to hear that the older people are. But I think a lot of older people are very open-minded. I don't think we give them the credit. Like, once you just like kind of present it to them, they're like, oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah, I've had 80-year-olds come in, all kinds of cool people.
And I bet that's awesome because you probably learned so much too, just from talking to someone that's like, you've been around for 80 years.
Yeah.
Like, you
it's
tired?
awesome.
You good?
I'm loving it. I have an 80-year-old. She's great.
They probably say the best shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell you all about crazy shit in their lives.
They don't care as much.
No.
No, I actually look forward to that when I get older, to be like, not that I can't say whatever the fuck I want now, but to really be able to say, like, it really doesn't fucking matter. Like, you can just do whatever, say whatever. Like, who gets mad at the old lady that was like a little crazy and just like get out of here,
Yeah.
Nobody says anything. You earned your right at that point, I think, anyways.
So what are some of the things that you'd say, like, I know you talked about your mom a little bit. What were some of your big milestones that you feel like you've went through and really like changed your life or like woke you up?
Milestones.
Turbulent moments or good moments, whatever.
The worst traumatic experiences that helped shape you.
Yeah, well, I would say, that was a big shift point. That was a major shift point that I had in my life, was 2012. A lot of like breakups, like hard relationship stuff. They were very much shift points for me. Understanding that I was part of the LGBTQ community at 15. Knowing that's a shift point. Shifting out of dark places, like have had dark experiences with doing things that were like very taboo and very, edgy and wild. I've done it all. And so, coming in, living into that realm of reality, and then coming into some other type of like realization from it. Like, I'm a big fan of Carl Jung. He's a psychological theorist that talks about shadow work. So I often talk about like embracing the shadow. The shadow is part of your true self. The shadow is not to be buried or destroyed. The shadow is to be integrated into you. It's part of you. Mm-hmm. Shadows only exist because there's light somewhere, right? So, when you have a light shined on your shadow, you're just illuminating the parts of you that you don't want somebody to see, that you want to stay hidden or repressed, or that you're afraid won't be accepted, or you don't accept yourself. And I have learned to embrace my shadow. And that's some serious shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like have read so many things about, shadow work, or listened to podcasts, or, read like a whole blog about it. And it just seems like it's never over.
No, you're always going to have inner child problems and have to revisit it. You're always going to have shadow work and have to revisit that. You're always going to have emotional programs and traumas that, you work to react and respond differently as you do the work on those things. But, you're going to get triggered by events, by people, by things. And, the more you accept and love yourself, the better off you will be with whatever happens in life.
And that acknowledgement, I think that's so big, because so many people, I think, get in that shame aspect, and they don't want to see those parts of themselves or talk about
oh yeah, and those motherfuckers show up fake. I can tell when they're coming a mile away. I'm like, you haven't owned your shit. You're hiding your shit, and I can tell immediately. And then they show up phony to me, and I just don't resonate. But if you're able to share, now I don't feel like you should spill your truth to everyone. Like, not everyone has to know the most intimate details of your hardships in your existence, but you have to be able to share that with people, at some people, and some people are just very open and shouting it from the rooftops. But, I feel like we can be selective with that.
Who we want to be
kind of
vulnerable
like protecting
with.
yourself a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think it's really good too that it is more talked about now. I had a conversation with a client the other day, and we were just talking about like traumatic events and like what you do with the trauma, and they were struggling with being raised like, you don't let anybody know this shit's going on. It's picture perfect.
Yeah.
And now where it's kind of like, you have people that literally document it. Like, they'll video their shit day in and day out, and you see what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's up to the individual. But, I feel like, I'm always open, an open book. Somebody asks me a question, I'll answer it. Somebody asks me something about the shadow, I'm going to tell the truth.
And that feels so much to me, at least, and maybe not everyone, but it feels like so much lighter to be that way.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to censor yourself or
Right.
think about a lie or.
Well, everybody's fucked up.
Yeah.
Everybody's fucked up. Everybody has shit. And it's like, does your shit play with my shit? Then great. This is
Right.
this is going to be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Playing in shit.
Yeah. And that's why it's great that you came up with this truth camp, because really, if you can't tell the truth to yourself and you can't figure out your truth, then you're not going to live authentically, and you won't have peace.
Mm-hmm. I think that's hard for people to understand too, like what peace is. I think some people think peace is like having it all. You have the house, you have the car, you have the spouse, like.
Peace is a choice in each situation. I can choose right now, how do I get to my place of peace? If this situation were to never change, what do I got to do to bring myself peace? And you choose. It comes with taking an action based on, even if the circumstances externally can't change, you're in charge of your own internal reality and your own internal peace.
And accepting that moment too. I think some people, you get squirmy in certain moments, and just learning to be able to accept what is going on now, because that's all you have.
Right.
How long did that take you personally to be able to sit in your discomfort?
My whole fucking life.
You're like, I'm still working on it right now.
I'm still doing it. I am sitting in discomfort of physical illness that I had go on for the past 2 years. Horrible. So hard. The worst thing I ever had to sit with and accept. The worst.
Yeah, so let's touch on that. Let's talk about.
So how did you learn about that? Because I know you struggled with.
I'm still struggling with it. Actually, that's why I'm like, we only have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
I do run out physically of I feel, I'm still struggling with the mold exposure and things like that. So, I mean, man, that was just hard. It was hard for me to accept that I couldn't work out, that I had to rest, that I had to change what I was eating and what I was doing. And I had to accept that I felt nauseous and dizzy and sick every day. So, I mean, it was, really hard for me to do that. Way harder than to accept a breakups or past traumas and mental and emotional. The physical is so hard because you take for granted that you could go to the store without feeling like you're going to throw up, or walk into somebody's house, or, be here talking to you guys without worrying about the air quality. So, that has been really hard for me to roll with. And I halted my life for a while. Partially because of COVID, but partially because, I didn't feel comfortable anymore. So that's something that was a next level layer for me that's super fresh. So I'm still learning how to navigate that.
Did you struggle accepting that this, you had to kind of just be okay with it?
Mm-hmm. It was huge. And that was something that my counselor / psychic, she's awesome. She's like, you have to, this isn't going away fast enough for you because you haven't been okay with it and accepted it. So that was the one thing when my mom was alive. My biggest weakness was I was petrified to be sick. Petrified. And so I would run back to my mom, and when she died, I had to learn how to be sick alone. And so this whole wave of 2 year and 6 month illness that I've been in really taught me how to have strength and how to sit through that alone and ask for help from multiple people, not just the one person, and open up and expand and say, I need help. I'm not feeling well. And that was just, oh man, so hard. Yeah. But I'm still doing it. So
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would struggle with that, like asking for help. I think most people do. And it's just a terrible thing. But it is really nice when you realize that you have people that will help you.
absolutely. And just to allow them to do it because they want to, you know, to like go to my stepmom who we were never that close and have her sit at the hospital with me because I'm having heart palpitations that they can't figure out. Right. So it's like, you know, opening up to allowing other people in your space and being in that vulnerability to say, yeah, I can't do this today. Hey, look, I tried to make a plan with you, but I'm sick and I have to leave. And it makes me feel weak and pathetic. And like people look at me like there's something wrong with me or I'm an inconvenience. So all those things I had to deal with and just been dealing with it. Just allowing, like I allowed a new relationship in during this time, which I thought, well, I'm going to wait till I'm better before I have a relationship. But that person helped me to navigate this and she helped me to accept it because she accepted it and was like, you have to accept this. It doesn't make you faulty. This doesn't make you like damaged goods. Like you got to love yourself through it. So that's what I'm working on still. Right.
Which I have to say real quick, like you look very happy and like I've seen pictures. It's like cool. Cause like I've not known you that long, but I definitely feel a difference within you and see a difference and it's cute.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cute.
Thanks.
It's cute. But how can everybody like get in touch with you? And like, we'll put it in the bio and everything, but like.
So I have our website, ReikiTherapyPittsburgh.com. That's my website. Also just on Facebook, Truthroots LLC. It's my business page. I have the break room, at Truthroots. So that's on there too. Also, you could email me. It's my name, Teresa, TERESAEB34 @gmail.com. And a phone number if you really want it, but you know.
Awesome.
You can get her digits.
Yeah, you want them?
Her girlfriend might kill you. But no, just joking. I don't know.
Yeah, she's really cool. Yeah.
She's probably like, hey, what's up?
She's really love and light. She does Reiki too. And she's been like, you know, she has a powerful energy. And I have the other person who also was exposed to the mold. She had a really major, massive healing through this too, and a big awakening. She was a coach, and coach field hockey and teaches at a university. And so she had a big, major awakening in this too. And everybody's like coming together to do Reiki circles. And, you know, my girlfriend has that full moon gathering every month.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like, we need to come together. You know, that everybody that does all this work, this little town's awesome. We should come together and do more shit. So, you know, it's just, I'm looking forward to that. I feel like that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do a retreat in January.
Sweet.
Where it's going to be like, you know, reset. Like, what are your New Year's resolutions you want to really create and just do a full, like, 4 or 5 day retreat and just really set intentions out there. So, yeah, just a bunch of stuff. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We'll have to have you back on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And get this rage room going. Yeah. No, definitely not.
No, but this will be super exciting. We have to have like a after hour special or something where we can talk about all the taboo shit.
Oh, I'd love to get taboo. I had a previous job before this for 7 years. I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
thank you so much again for joining us.
Yeah,
We
thanks for
appreciate
having me. This
you
was
on Last
awesome.
Minute.
Good luck with the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. And we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Yes.